couple went for a hike in Red Rock Canyon to enjoy one last adventure before their baby arrived, but they never returned, vanishing without a trace in the Nevada desert. Then 4 years later, a jogger and his dog make a gruesome discovery beneath a rocky overhang, disturbing evidence that shatters everything investigators believed about their disappearance. The Nevada sun blazed overhead as Danielle Caldwell squinted against the harsh light reflecting off the red sandstone formations to 29. She'd grown accustomed to these weekend searches. Her hiking boots crunched against the loose gravel as she paused to take a swig from her water bottle, the lukewarm liquid doing little to combat the dry heat that seemed to suck moisture from every pore. "Danny, we should probably think about heading back," Owen called out Marcus, one of the regular volunteers who'd been joining these searches for the past 2 years. His face was flushed red beneath his baseball cap, sweat staining the collar of his shirt. Danielle looked around at the small group 7 people total today, down from the 15 who used to show up regularly when the case was still fresh. 4 years had a way of wearing down hope, transforming it into something else entirely. What had started as desperate searches for survivors had long since become grim expeditions looking for closure. "Yeah, you're right," she replied. Daniela's sister Marissa had been 7 and 2 months pregnant when she disappeared with Ethan, her husband, 4 years ago. Danielle pulled out her GPS device to mark their search area. They developed a systematic approach over the years, methodically covering different sections of Red Rock Canyon. The police had long since relegated the case to their cold files, only responding to specific tips or leads. But Danielle couldn't let go. Marissa was her only remaining family. Their parents had died in a car accident 6 years ago. "All right, everyone," Danielle called out, her voice carrying across the rocky terrain. "Let's pack it up for today. Make sure you've got all your gear." When they finally reached the parking lot, everyone dispersed to their respective vehicles. Danielle popped her trunk, tossing in her backpack and search equipment. The digital clock on her phone read 11 a.m. as she pulled it from her pocket finally, getting signal bars after hours in the communication dead zone of the deeper canyon. Her screen lit up with notifications, missed calls, text messages, voicemails. Her heart rate spiked when she saw they were all from the same source, Detective Raymond Chen from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. They hit the callback button. The phone rang once before. Detective Chen's familiar baritone filled her ear. "Danielle, thank God. I've been trying to reach you for the past 2 hours. I'm sorry. Detective, I was out in Red Rock with my search group. No signal. What's happened? Is everything okay? Are you still at Red Rock Canyon?" "Yes, we just got back to the parking area near the visitors center." "Detective, what's going on?" There was a pause and Danielle could hear muffled voices in the background. "We've had a development in your sister's case. A hiker found something this morning that we believe belongs to Marissa." The water bottle slipped from Danielle's other hand, splashing across the hot asphalt. Sarah and Marcus, who had been loading their own vehicle nearby, noticed her distress and hurried over. "What kind of evidence?" Danielle managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'd prefer to discuss this in person. Can you drive to the White Rock Hills Loop area? It's on the north side of the canyon. I'll send you the exact coordinates." "Of course, yes, I'll leave right now." "Good. I'll text you the location. There will be multiple patrol cars at the site. You can't miss us." After ending the call, Danielle looked up at the concerned faces surrounding her. "They found something," she said, her voice shaking. "The detective wants us to meet him at White Rock Hills Loop without hesitation." Sarah placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We're coming with you." Her phone buzzed with the coordinates from Detective Chen. She plugged them into her GPS, noting the location was about 45 minutes away. 3 other volunteers, Tom, Janet, and Phil, agreed to join them, forming a small convoy. As they left the parking lot, the landscape shifted as they drove the iconic red rocks, giving way to paler limestone formations. White Rock Hills Loop was a less popular area of the park system, known for its challenging terrain and remote location. As they approached the coordinates, Danielle spotted the cluster of police vehicles. She pulled into the makeshift parking area, her hands trembling as she shifted into park. She exited the car, and Detective Chen led her and her friends to his unmarked cruiser. The site is about a mile from here. The terrain's too rough for regular vehicles past this point. They piled into 2 police SUVs, the vehicles specially equipped for desert navigation. The ride was bumpy and uncomfortable, following what could barely be called a trail. When they finally stopped, she could see a cluster of people ahead, crime scene technicians, uniformed officers, and what looked like search and rescue personnel. A temporary canopy had been erected to provide shade for an evidence collection area. As they hiked the remaining distance, Detective Chen fell into step beside her. "I want to prepare you for what we've found." It's not good news, Danielle." She nodded, unable to speak. Her legs felt lean each step, requiring conscious effort. They approached the canopy where a man stood near a German Shepherd. Detective Chen made introductions. "Danielle, this is Malcolm Brandt. He made the discovery this morning." Malcolm was a man in his mid-40s with sun-weathered skin and kind eyes. He moved his baseball cap respectfully. "I'm so sorry for what you're going through," he said quietly. "I was hiking with Bella here." He indicated the dog, trying a new trail I'd never explored before. More challenging than my usual routes. Bella ran ahead and came back with something in her mouth. Danielle's gaze dropped to the evidence table where various items were laid out, tagged and photographed. Her breath caught when she saw them: bones, unmistakably human, pale and weathered by exposure. It was a radius bone. Malcolm continued gently. "From a forearm, I recognized it because I used to be a paramedic. Once I realized what Bella had found, I marked the spot and called 911 immediately." Detective Chen guided Danielle closer to the evidence table. "After Mr. Brandt's call, we sent our forensic team out immediately. There was a severe windstorm last night, probably the worst we've had all year. We believe it scattered remains that had been protected until now." Danielle forced herself to look at the collection of bones, her vision blurring with tears. But it was the next piece of evidence that made her knees buckle. "This is how we suspected it might be. Your sister," Detective Chen said, pointing to a larger bone, a tibia with surgical hardware still attached. "You mentioned in your initial report that Marissa had knee surgery." "Yes," Danielle whispered. 3 years before, she disappeared. A skiing accident. She had pins and a plate put in. The serial numbers on the hardware match her medical records, the detective confirmed. "We're still waiting for DNA confirmation. But it's her." The words came out as a broken sob. "Oh God, it's really her." Sarah wrapped an arm around Danielle's shoulders, supporting her weight as her legs threatened to give out completely. But Detective Chen wasn't finished. His expression grew even more somber. "Danielle, there's more. We found additional remains, smaller bones, found in a crevice in the cliff face." The implication hit her like a physical blow. The baby, Marissa's baby. The forensic anthropologist believes they're consistent with a late-term fetus. Detective Chen continued, his professional demeanor barely masking his own discomfort. "Some bones show evidence of scavenger activity. Coyotes are common in this area." Danielle couldn't hold back the sobs anymore. 4 years of hoping, of imagining scenarios where Marissa and Ethan had somehow survived, were just lost or hurt, but alive somewhere. It all crumbled in the face of these weathered bones laid out on a folding table. "What about Ethan?" she managed to ask between gulps of air. "Did you find?" "No," Detective Chen replied. "We found no remains that we can definitively identify as male. The search team is still working, expanding the grid, but so far, nothing." "How can that be? They were together." "They posted that photo on Facebook from the canyon that morning." The detective's expression was carefully neutral. That's one of many questions we need to answer. Without evidence of Mr. Voss's remains or any sign of other parties involved, we have to consider all possibilities. You think Ethan did this? Danielle's voice rose in disbelief. That's insane. He loved her. They tried for 6 years to have a baby. He was a surgeon. He saved lives. He would never. I understand. This is difficult to process, Detective Chen said calmly. But in cases like this, we have to examine every angle. The fact that only your sister's remains have been found, that they were concealed rather than simply lost. These are factors we can't ignore. Danielle shook her head vehemently. Ethan wasn't even an experienced hiker. Neither of them were. That's why I told them not to go. Especially with Marissa so far along in her pregnancy. They told me they were just doing a light hike. The idea that he could have navigated this far into the desert, done something to her, hidden the bodies, it doesn't make sense. People can surprise us, even those we think we know well, the detective replied gently. But you're right, that there are many questions. That's why we need to re-examine everything. He gestured toward the cliff face where crime scene tape marked off an area. Their remains were found beneath that overhang, partially protected by fallen rocks. It's possible they've been there the entire time, preserved by the shelter until last night's storm dislodged them. So what happens now? Danielle asked, exhausted by the emotional toll of the past hour. We'll transport everything.